Alrighty, now on to round three of the 2025 championship. We're in the round of 64. I ought to be playing the 61st seed, but we had an upset way back in the first round, and I've ended up at seed 69. Good luck and have fun to you too, kingsSkort. Wouldn't want anyone to be upset in this tournament. That's why I entered as the top seed. What do we got going on here? Villages, we got Ghost Town and Ghost from Exorcist and Merchant Camp. For draw, there's Guard Dog and Wild Hunt and the other spirits. For trashing, Exorcist, Church, Forager. For plus buy, Astrolabe and Forager. Is there a way to discard Tunnel here? I mean, Ghost could technically flip Tunnel. I don't know if there's a reliable way to line that up. Anything else? I don't think so. So probably Tunnel's not too significant. Which card is the Tireless card? Astrolabe being tireless is kind of awkward, I think. Just in general, cards being tireless is often awkward. If there's a card you want a bunch of, you don't want to have them all exactly on top of your deck. Probably doubly so of treasures. Hmm. I do want plus buy, so you probably end up playing with like a pair of these and you just have one treasure on top every turn, and that's not the biggest deal. Okay, 5-2 definitely looks worse here. 4-3, just Exo plus Church looks pretty strong. Hmm. For sure, I want Exorcist in short order. I think the options are either Exorcist and nothing, or buy Wild Hunt, turn 1, then Exorcist turn 3. Kind of slightly slower to trashing, but I got a Wild Hunt in my deck early, which maybe is good. I think I prefer that line. As long as I hit 4 turn 3, I think that's a fine line. If I draw 3 money turn 3, I'm sad. Okay, well, this will definitely hit 4. All 6 of those bottom 6 cards are coppers. Uh, Given that Wild Hunt draws 3 cards, this seems alright, because I get the Exorcist turn 3, and then I'm already shuffling it back in. So I can see it as soon as turn 4, potentially. Okay, what am I buying here? Kind of inclined to just say Ghost Town. Just makes sure, or not sure, but makes more sure that I find Wild Hunt and Exorcist next turn. Alternatives could be just getting plus buy in the deck already. It's not too early for that, really. There's reasonably cheap stuff I want multiples of. I could see buying Astrolabe already. Possibly that's better. I think the odds that I bottom deck the Exorcist are fairly low, just given that if it's in the top 5, I find it, or if the Wild Hunt is in the top 5, I find it. So yeah, I have to bottom deck both Exorcist and Wild Hunt, or else I find the Exorcist. So pretty unlikely to fail. Alright, they're going for Potion, which seems a bit slow to me. But you gotta be careful with Familiar, because if you're not paying attention, the curses can come in really fast once they get like 2 or 3 of them. But I think it's slow enough that hopefully I'll have, Church or Forager or something up and running. I don't need to play Foragers for plus buy anyway. And here I think Ghost Town looks pretty good since I have exactly 5 cards down there, and all my good cards, not all my good cards, almost all my good cards are in this hand. So I'd love to trigger a shuffle and get back around to the Exo and the Wild Hunt sooner. Alright, trying to get the first familiar here. 5, not amazing. I'm thinking just a second Wild Hunt, perhaps. Could also be just a Ghost Town. Those are the only 2 things sticking out to me. Yeah, I think Wild Hunt is fine. Hopefully I don't draw it dead. goal for this turn is to not draw the second Wild Hunt and buy like Ghost Town plus Forager or something. It's the dream. I'm probably a bit behind, and I think all of that is stemming from me being player 2 with the 5-2 in the opening. Alright, this is a good draw. I'm very happy with this draw. Got all the things on my wish list. And yeah, I think probably Forager is correct here. Could also be Church, but definitely should be adding a Trasher right about now for the Coppers. I think Forager looks the best. Could have been 2 Ghost Towns even, perhaps. Probably Forager is better. Can I draw the Forager, please? Yes. All right, this is going well. And they still don't have a Wild Hunt yet, so I don't need to be all too worried about the points being nabbed. I don't think I would take them anyway, even if they did have a Wild Hunt, just because I value the draw a lot more than the points right now. And there's no way to mid-turn gain a Wild Hunt, I don't think. Sometimes you have to watch out for if you have Wild Hunt and they don't. There's a way to gain a Wild Hunt and play it at the same turn. It's easy to sneak in the points. And here that would look like playing a 4-cost action as Way of the Butterfly, turning into a Wild Hunt, and then playing it, but there's no $4 action card, so that's not on the table. Okay. I'm thinking surely one more Ghost Town, and Forager and a Guard Dog. The Guard Dog will trigger for free off of the Familiars anytime I have it in hand, which is kind of nice. And yeah, I think I like that. Second Forager plus Guard Dog. Probably this turn I should think about taking the points. It'll depend on the draw, of course. It also depends on whether they buy a Wild Hunt, but I expect them to buy a Wild Hunt this turn. There are now 2 treasures in the trash, which I don't mind. I've got Foragers now. Did they... Did they trash the potion? Okay, yeah. I was gonna say, surely you trashed the potion with Exorcist to get an imp off of it, and they did that way back. After only getting 1 familiar, interesting. Okay, yeah, so familiar is not gonna be actually that much of a threat here. And the big thing you gotta watch out for with familiar is if they get a bunch of them, the curses can come in kind of fast. 1 familiar I don't think is all that scary. That's just food for the foragers. And I wish I would have drawn the guard dog. Would love to play that as well. I think it's probably worth taking the points now. 6 points is a big chunk of points. Don't really need to draw anything down there all that badly. And they do have a wild hunt. I'm just going to go ahead and take it. And 1 more ghost town, perhaps 2 more ghost towns. If not ghost town, then what? Don't think I need another guard dog right now. Probably don't need another forager, given that they've only got the 1 familiar. Still don't think there's a way to activate tunnel, is there? Let me just double check I'm not missing anything tunnel related. Yeah, I don't think you can discard tunnel here except for the ghost interaction, which you just can't reliably count on. I think once I have a ghost on my deck, if I get a ghost, we'll see about that. You could buy tunnels, then play the ghost, and you could know that your ghost is going to flip the tunnels, perhaps. But then you'd also, if you wanted to guarantee that ghost flip the tunnels, uh, you would need to not buy an action card. Because if you bought like 2 tunnels in 1 action, and then played the ghost, the action could be on top, and then you wouldn't reveal any of the tunnels. And then if you don't have an action in your discard, well, then the ghost isn't doing anything except for activating. Probably tunnel is just not that worth it here. If there's a way to make it work, it looks good because payload is otherwise probably the thing most lacking here. But I'm just not seeing it. Anyways, I think I'm about to the point where I'm going to want a little bit more money. Maybe just a silver? Ha! You've activated my trick card. Alright, yeah, so they are super thin. Also pretty light on payload. Last card, I believe, is the Exorcist. Yep, which they won't be able to play. I believe I still have a bunch more coppers. I've also got a lot more draw, so I think I prefer my position. The foragers will deal with the coppers just fine, whereas their foragers are running out of usefulness pretty soon. Okay, oh, well, this is a little bit of a dud. Not so bad, but it is a dud. Hmm, guess I'll just go Ghost Town and one more Wild Hunt. I don't think I need that many Wild Hunts for draw, but having it one extra, on top of making it less likely that I dud in the future, means it's easier to take the points with the last Wild Hunt. I'm really just not minding the familiar at all. One curse coming out every turn is just giving my forager something to do. They're gaining gold the hard way. It makes sense. If you have an excess of draw, you might as well turn that into a gold, draw it, play it this turn for money, and then you can rebuy the Wild Hunt as needed. They definitely should rebuy the Wild Hunt, though. No question. Because if you don't, and you have 0 of them in your deck, then the thing you're leaving open is I can just put all my Wild Hunts for draw, leave a bunch of points in the pile. They can't do anything about it because there's no way to gain the Wild Hunt mid-turn. And then I can take those points in 2 turns rather than having to take the points each turn, which is a little bit more cumbersome. Guard Dog just seems worse to me than a Wild Hunt. I'm not even playing an attack card. Like, my deck doesn't trigger the Guard Dog. The other upside of Guard Dog conceivably is, say you play your Forager and reduce your hand size a bunch, then the Guard Dog could draw 4 cards, which is more than Wild Hunt. But with Ghost Towns, actually they don't have that many Ghost Towns. They should have Ghost Towns. But if you have Ghost Towns, you have a large starting hand, so you're not super likely to get the Guard Dog effect off. Okay, yeah, so here, I don't think there's any compelling reason to take these points, right? I've got all the Wild Hunts, they cannot gain one next turn. I think I'm probably going to do the little Wild Hunt into gold, draw the gold trick as well. And they have 3 Foragers. Why do you have 3 Foragers? They bought another Forager. What are you trashing to the Forager? Aren't they out of junk? Pretty sure they have no junk cards left in their deck to trash. Are you planning on trashing the silver and the gold and pumping up the Forager? That's going to benefit me more than it benefits them. Because I still got stuff left to trash. I don't know why they have an extra Forager. That don't make a whole lot of sense to me. Obviously, I'd rather trash this curse, but the way that the order is going to work out, I wouldn't have actions by the time I played the Forager. Okay. Let's take another Wild Hunt for sure. A Ghost Town. And what? Piles aren't super low. Could be another Guard Dog, could be another Ghost Town. I'll see another Guard Dog. And maybe another Copper even. I don't think it's crazy to want another Copper right now with all the Foragers. I think I got plenty of draw. I'm gonna buy a Copper. Gives my Will-O-Wisp something to do. Could you attack me, please? Pretty please? Thank you very much. Yeah, the players of the Raps division of the bracket, I would say, are definitely very friendly. And so I can tell that it was really hurting him inside to have to play an attack card. But I think he pondered it there for a minute and realized he was actually helping me out, which he was. Already got 10 money, still not a big amount of money over there. And right, so what happened with the Forager? They trashed a gold. And they trashed an Exorcist. You could have got a ghost off of that gold if you wanted to trash the gold. And a fourth forager. I think they're taking the forager part of this a little bit too literally. It seems like he's going to buy a bunch of. You don't even have enough buys to get a bunch of coppers to power the foragers. I don't believe in this. I mean, even if so, foragers at 3 right now. And that might look like, oh, it's a $3 gold. But first off, you're not really getting plus buy if you have to spend a buy buying coppers every turn to feed the forager. So it's really just like 3 coins. But also, you have to draw the forager and the copper. So it's not like a card that gives you 3 coins. It's like 3 coins spread across 2 cards, which is less money than just a pair of silvers, for example. Not to mention, they go to all that work, and I could just pick up foragers and benefit from it if I wanted to. Come on, Will-O-Wisp. You can do better than that. Okie dokie. Did not draw the last guard dog again. I don't think I had too much use for it anyway. And I'll take the points now. Do I want to trash the silver? You know what? In a show of solidarity for a fellow member of the Rats division, I'm going to help them out powering up their foragers. And then we can both benefit from the collective good of the trash pile. So I'll trash that with my Exo and get me an imp. What do I want to buy? Thinking a ghost town and a wild hunt. That's 8 and leaves me with 4 money left. I don't know what I'm doing with the last 4 money. Maybe one more guard dog. And then I buy a copper. I guess it could be a third forager. Yeah, let's do that. Alrighty. Now they got 4 foragers making 4 money each. Unfortunately, both of our astrolabes in play, so it's not going to be easy to get that forager up to a 5-ager. I was about to say I wouldn't mind a pair of churches for setting aside an extra draw, but I'm not sure that's true. If I ever have excess draw, probably the way to make use of that is to butterfly the wild hunt, gain a gold, rebuy the wild hunt. Hmm. Okay, yeah. So they're making a bunch of money there, but they also have to cannibalize their deck real hard. And despite having 2 provinces, they're only up by 1 point because I have a bunch of money from a bunch of points from these wild hunts already. How are piles looking now? Ghost Town's low, Forager is low. Curses are not going to be running all that fast. Yet, actually, it's probably pretty smart that they trashed that familiar. Curses were proactively benefiting me, if anything. Come on, Will-O-Wisp. I know I got stuff in my deck that you can draw. Okay, let's go ahead and trash a bunch of cards. And what am I doing with this wild hunt? Probably I would rather take the points. That's got to be right, right? The other option would be turning it into a gold and drawing it. And then what about these guard dogs? Also a little bit unclear. I have so much draw. So if I butterfly this into a gold and draw the gold, it's definitely a lot better for my turn. Gives me 3 more money. And gains the gold. But then I'm leaving 3 points in the pile. They have 3 guard dogs and 2 wild hunts. I think it is not unreasonable to expect that they could play 1 wild hunt for draw and then play the other wild hunt to gain 4 points. I probably don't want to leave that option on the table. So let's just take points here. And then how are we looking on the estate pile? We take 10 gains, which I don't think they've got. But you gotta watch out because Wild Hunt can be a gainer in the in-game for purposes of gaining estates. It's like here I've got 5 buys plus some Wild Hunts. And if I manage to have enough overdraw and play the Wild Hunts for estate gains, then I could be doing like 8 or 9 gains here and a estate pile out might open up. Is there anything to do with this guard dog? Turning it into a Potion sounds worse than nothing. I don't benefit from that. There's already potion in the trash. If I could turn into a second exorcist and draw it, that would be worth doing. So first guard dog turns into Exo, second guard dog draws the Exo, and that Exo trashes the estate. I would do that, but I'm one action short. I think the answer is probably that the guard dog just doesn't do anything, and that's fine. So I think I want one province, and then I think I want to lower these piles a little bit, and then I should be threatening a pile out on my next turn. Guard dog. You know what? I probably didn't need another guard dog. I was thinking about it as I just want to maximize the chance I got some guard dogs on top. But they don't even have the familiar anymore, which is the main reason guard dog was particularly good here. Oh well. How many foragers would I need to find? Ooh, that's not a great draw. Apparently I could have just left the points in the wild hunt pile. They didn't find either of them. Yeah, I was contemplating. I have a 9 card starting hand. So even if I found 2 foragers in my starting hand and played both of them, that would reduce my hand size by 4, which still wouldn't be enough to make the guard dog draw 4 cards. So let me contemplate. I now have 4 foragers, I believe, plus 1 astrolabe is 6 buys, and it takes 8 gains to lower the estate pile. So I believe I should watch out for. Let's see if I can manage to get to the end of my deck without playing 2 wild hunts. If so, that would be great. Okay, it didn't make it. So there's probably not going to be a pile up this turn, right? Let's just check. Got 1 buy, 2, 3, 4, 5 buys, 6, 7 gains. So I am 1 short piling Ghost Town Forager estate, and I can't do Guard Dog Ghost Town Forager. That is 7 cards, but the Wild Hunts are restricted to only gaining estates. So I think I am not winning this turn. Well, I'm not winning on estates this turn. Is there a chance that I win on provinces, perhaps? Do I have that much money? Let's find out. Now I've got the gains, but I'm 1 action short. I think that last guard dog buy was definitely a mistake. I was thinking I was going to be able to activate the guard dog if I found it in my hand. Okay, so these forges are worth 5 money, 5 whole money. That's what rats can accomplish when we stick together. All right, this is just going to be an easy win then. GG. Game 2. What have we here? We got mission plus exploration is a nice little synergy, probably, maybe. Yeah, so you buy mission, you buy exploration, you get the coffer and the villager on your mission turn because you didn't buy anything on the mission turn. Not a game winning interaction or anything, but it makes mission look a little bit better. And it does look like there's other stuff you could accomplish on your mission turn. You could play a junk dealer and trash stuff. You could play mint and gain stuff, specialist or tanuki. Yeah, you could do a lot. So I think mission looks pretty good here. Oh, actually, you know what else maybe you could do on a mission turn? Is what if you just drew your deck with tide pools on the normal turn and you buy mission and then you just pitch your entire deck to tide pools on the mission turn and you skip the mission turn, but that's fine. That could be kind of cute. The thing to watch out for there, though, is so imagine you draw your whole deck with like 10 tide pools, then you buy mission. Then next turn you draw a normal hand of 5 cards, you pitch that, then all the tide pools leave play. But now your discard pile is 5 cards plus 10 tide pools, and then the next like 20 cards in your deck are none of the tide pools. I'm not sure how to play around that. Like you have to leave 5 cards in your deck undrawn or something to avoid that. trouble. That does make the tide pool synergy look a little less good than it seems. Hmm. If you're not playing with tide pools, you could draw a Jack of all trades and play like a draw to X deck. You'd be getting some number of villagers off of exploration, which makes it a little bit more reliable. This looks like an awkward kingdom. Hmm. So draw to X with Jack of all trades could play with Tanuki or something. Like you Tanuki some 6 cost cards into provinces, then draw back a Jack. But it looks like a decent kingdom for just playing with some treasures. And the Jack deck doesn't benefit so much from those. I mean, you could still potentially play treasures from your hand in the action phase with Specialist. Hmm. Again, the main thing that's awkward about the Tide Pools deck is that if you draw your whole deck, you buy a mission, you draw, like, let's say you have 30 cards in your deck. You'll draw 5 out of those 30 cards, you'll discard them all, and the Tide Pools go into the discard at the end of the mission turn, once they've done their thing. And then all the Tide Pools will be in the discard, and then your next turn or two is going to be a dud. And I just don't see an easy way to get around that here, aside from just deliberately not playing 5 of your cards every turn. It's a pretty big downside. Maybe you just play with like a pair of Tide Pools or 2 pairs of Tide Pools, and then you discard down to 1, and as long as you find your Jack of all trades, you can draw back up to 5. Maybe that's the answer. Alright, I got 3 money. Show what I'm doing on 3. I guess just silver. It's probably better than nothing. They got 5 too, which does sound better than what I got. Do I buy Jack here? Or Exploration? I think I'd rather get the Jack in the deck already. And I think Mission this turn, probably hit 4 next turn, and by Exploration on the Mission turn. Discard. Yeah, I can discard. That other card's also a copper. Exploration. Okay. We don't want to play the Tanuki. We do want to play the Tanuki. And I think this is going to be a good case for an early mint, probably, in the near future. Maybe, I was going to say maybe this turn even, but actually, I probably shouldn't have clicked mission there, should I? I should have thought about this. What was I planning to accomplish on this turn? I can't buy a mint. I don't have any estates down here to trash. I'm not sure I want another silver. I can play the Jack of all trades anyway, just because I got 2 coppers on top that I want to get off the top of my deck. I might have miscalculated there just a wee bit. I'm just gonna pass my turn. I got 2 villagers out of that, so something happened. Yes, I'm gonna have to buy a Tanuki here, I think. And then once I got a Tanuki in my deck, that makes it easy to get the other 5 cost cards and such that I want while buying mission every turn. But I need to get this in my deck the hard way. My Jack is hiding. That's fine. So yeah, I think what was it, turn 3, turn 4? Turn 4 here was a mistake. I should have burned one of the coffers and bought a Tanuki that turn instead of passing 2 turns. Yeah, they're going hard for the tide pools. And yeah, I probably ought to play the Tanuki first to reduce the hand size so I draw more cards. And what am I gaining off of it? Could be Junk Dealer. Could be Specialist. Could be another Tanuki. All of those sound alright. I'm hoping to... Well, how likely is it that I buy Mint in the near future, actually? Because on my normal turn, I'm buying Mission. On my Mission turn, I'm not buying anything. So to buy a Mint, I would have to hit 9, which I could easily do with the number of coffers that I've got. Maybe that's what I do with all the coffers, is I spend that buying Mint plus Mission, on some near future turn. And I'll still need a junk dealer to deal with like the last 1, 2, 3 coppers. I think I'm just going to take a second Tanuki for the moment. Discard that. Buy a mission again, which does nothing. Okay, here we go. Wait a second. Okay, I'm not playing this kingdom all too terribly well. It occurs to me I don't actually have plus buy yet. So what was my plan for buying mint plus mission? Hey, this is a fine hand to buy mint if I want a mint. Perhaps I do. But the mint is coming at the expense of like an entire extra turn. Don't buy mint. I can buy mission, play 2 Tanukis, trash. I think I got 2 silvers down there. Play jack, trash an estate. And I can do all that next turn anyway. How badly do I want to mint 5 coppers? Badly enough. I mean, maybe. Mint it can be just a tad awkward to line up. And so the best case for mint is just I might not get a good opportunity for it in the future. I feel like if I buy mission, yeah, how am I getting plus buy in my deck? Now I need to add a capital or a sack of loot, and then I would have to be willing to trash said capital or sack of loot to the mint because that's a treasure that's going to get trashed alongside the mint whenever I buy the mint. Now, capital mint is actually a little bit of a synergy. Maybe I could gain a capital and then buy mint. I trash the capital from play, so I never discard it from play, so I never get the 6 debt. That would be kind of cute. Not that I really need the 6 money all that badly, because I only need to hit 9 money for that turn. So I could consider mission this turn, trash a silver into a capital, plan to draw capital plus all my coppers on the following turn, and then buy. I think I'm just going to buy mint this turn. I think it seems worth it to skip like 5 junk dealer plays, and it was looking kind of hard otherwise to line up a turn that bought mint and mission. Probably would have been more effort than it was worth. Gain a capital, draw capital and a bunch of coppers, trash the capital. And then, so my discard pile is literally just the mint, which I probably want to, spell scroll. That's probably a pretty good loot to get early. Anyways, I want to play these Tanukis. Do I want to trash the mint? If I had a sack of loot in my deck already, I might have something useful to do with the mint. So the Jack of all trades is going to draw me 3 cards, one of which is the estate that's on top of my deck, one of which is the mint. So I think I turn one of the silvers into a Tanuki, and then I can trash the mint this turn. I'll have 3 Tanukis, which is a lot of Tanukis. And the other 5 cost card could be, I don't know what, maybe a capital actually. The upside of capital is I can play it this turn, buy mission plus something this turn, pay off the debt on the mission turn since I'm not buying anything anyway. The downside of that is if I buy something plus mission this turn, I'm not getting the exploration on this turn. I'm passing up on a coffer and a villager. And I'm kind of running on fumes here on villages. I'll need to get some more villagers on my deck soon. I'm pretty sure I want to trash the mint into a sack of loot. I wouldn't mind keeping the mint and playing it, but it is kind of action intensive. I think I'm going to gain 1 more Tanuki. Specialist. Draw the estate and trash it. And Specialist plays a Tanuki. Gains a sack of loot. Gain a copy of Tanuki. Buy a mission. And now what? Some of those Tanukis are going to need to trash each other. I don't need 4 Tanukis, but that's fine. Probably here, yeah, here I think I should definitely play Specialist on Stack of Loot. It gets me 2 loots immediately, but also it plays the sack of loot in the action phase, whereas playing sack of loot in the buy phase would stop me from gaining the villager off of that thingamajig, exploration. I'd rather gain a sack of loot or a second loot. Probably a copy of sack of loot, I think. Gain copy. Trash a silver into another specialist. In buys. Yeah, I'm burning through villagers pretty fast here. Gonna need to fix that somehow. The trouble is, now that I got these stacks of loot in the deck, I might not be getting exploration villagers reliably. I do want at least a few of those tide pools. I'm ahead on copper trashing. They still have all their coppers for the time being. And it won't be easy for them to mint them, I don't think, because they've got a bunch of loots now in their deck, so they either have to not play the loots or they have to be willing to trash the loots to the mint. They haven't added a junk dealer yet. Staff looks like a very good loot to get here. Sword honestly might be friendly. I don't mind reducing my hand size of Jack of all trades in my hand. I believe they're about to have the tide pools problem I described, which might not be the biggest deal given that their deck is still fairly small, but it'll demonstrate what I'm talking about. So on the mission turn, pitch their whole hand, then they discard all the tide pools. Now for sure, these next 10 cards have 0 tide pools in them, because they didn't add any new tide pools. So they're not going to be able to draw for 2 more turns. Give or take. Take another specialist. Jack. Don't trash. And do I want to burn my final villager playing the specialist? Probably. Gets me a whole extra loot. I would not mind buying 4 tide pools here. Can I hit that much money? Probably not. I mean, I also want to buy mission, so that'd be like 20 money, which I'm definitely not doing. So maybe specialist plays sack of loot twice, and then I hit 7 money, and that's like mission plus the tide pools. Maybe I gain another tide pools or 2 on the mission turn. And I am running quite low on villagers at that stage. Maybe I might just care about the villagers more than I care about an extra loot right now, and just elect not to play the specialist. That might be right. Okay. Tide pools plus mission. In buys. Okay. And so option A, specialist the sack of loot twice. That gets me loots in the action phase so that I still get a villager back. I think that sounds good. Option B, there's no point in double playing the jewels. I can't use money this turn. I could double play Tanuki and trash this Tanuki plus a copper into an estate so that my jack could trash it. Sounds worse. I'm just gonna do this. We got a bunch of loots. And then I think I'm willing to play a Tanuki, get this one out of deck, and gain a tide pools. Do I want to play the jewels? I don't think I particularly want to put the jewels back on bottom of my deck. And then what am I doing with this hand? So I could double play specialist, play Tanuki, trash shield and loot, shield and sack. Wait, 1 second. It appears that I've overlooked an important nuance of the tide pools deck. It would appear that you have. This was what I was mentioning way back when turn 0. It could be the case that that tide pools deck is still the best deck if you play around that constraint, but it is a pretty big constraint. Anyways, as I was saying, so double specialist Tanuki Jack will mean my Jack draws 5 cards, which is nice. The other option would be like specialist, Jack. I got a tide pools down there, I believe. Then I could double play the tide pools. I think that sounds a little bit worse to me. I'll just go ahead and gain 2 provinces. I'm probably going for provinces here just because they're way easy to get off of Tanukis. discard, and there's no value in playing this again, so I guess I'll just gain a copy of it. I'm not sure I actually want to copy a Jack all that badly, but I don't mind it. Okay. And so now I will Tanuki perhaps just another loot into a province. I just kind of like the idea of rushing down provinces here. Seems like a nice win condition. And I think I value Insignia the least of the loots. Maybe Jewels actually is worse. I would say for sure Jewels is worst, except I'm kind of low on plus buy loots, which matters here. Insignia maybe lets me top deck something good. There could be scenarios where I want to put a Tide Pools on top, or a Jack or something. Hmm. Figurehead, I think it's for sure out. Endless Chalice is plus buy, which I do seem to need. I think it's between Insignia and Jewels that die. I mean, I could just trash Province into Province even. Maybe that's the play. Let's see how much money I have. 3, 6, 9, 10, 12, 14, 16. I'm for sure buying Mission. Maybe I just do Province into Province plus Province Tide Pools Mission. Sounds like a decent turn. And maybe I do top deck that. I'm gonna have to discard 4 cards to Tide Pools. So I don't mind having a junk card on top. Not sure if that's correct, but it seems plausible. I'll buy Tide Pools but not top deck it. Okay, figurehead first. Money, money, discard. It would appear that I have found my Tide Pools anyway. Probably keeping that in hand. If I had Jack of all trades, I'd for sure pitch the Tide Pools and just play Jack. But I don't. So I think I'm going to play the Tide Pools, draw, and then trash some more stuff. Gain a copy. Hmm. Yeah, I think I like gain a copy here, and then I can double play the Tanuki and gain another province. You can play it again, and if I don't, I do have 2 jacks down there. Okay, I think I'm convincing myself I should play it again. As long as I don't draw both jacks, I'm fine. Because I'm going to discard 4 cards now next turn, but I have a jack of all trades on top, and so I can just draw back up to 5 anyway. That means for sure I don't want to gain anything in the buy phase here, which is not a problem because I don't have a sack of loot in hand. But I'm going to need a villager next turn. Play Jack and then continue on with my turn. Play this again. Specialist, Tanuki, gain a province. Play again, gain a province. Play again, gain a duchy. Play again, gain a duchy. Invise. Uh-oh. I might have forgotten to account for something. That's not good. That's not good at all. I don't like sword. Mm-mm-mm. This is honestly probably fine. See, I actually I did plan this the whole time. I knew I was going to get hit with sword. That's why I banked up 5 coffers so that I can buy mission this turn, and then I'll just Tanuki a specialist or specialist to Tanuki next turn and get the last 2 provinces, all according to plan. So yeah, they got almost all the tide pools, but then they've had 2 straight dud turns because all their tide pools went to their discard, as the prophecy foretold. Mission, invise, and this looks like a win. I think that's one of the things you discover for the first time you try the play all the tide pools deck, and you learn pretty quickly the problem that it runs into. I believe it might have been a league championship that I was commentating once between Haka and Negative, maybe. I think game 1 of that match had a similar situation. Where'd they go? KingsSkort? They're back. Uh, where I believe it was a Tide Pools Outpost engine where the player who I believe could be mistaken was Negative, tried to do the Tide Pools Outpost thing, and then ran into this problem and didn't play around it correctly.